Look who that is.
Huh?
It's Mental Marvin. What are we doing, Marv? Tell the fine folks on the YouTubius planet.
Fixing junk.
Fixing junk, huh? We hope we just had a Jake break.
Failure.
Well, a rocker. Actually, it was what? That rocker on the intake valves broke, right?
Yes, it was the little
And it made the Jake
adjustment
shoot
with the shoe on it broke off.
Oh. So hopefully.
Which I think that made everything stop and
blowed the puking
Puked
guts
the
out.
Jake brake
Puked
out.
the guts out of the Jake brake. Move over a little so I can get up here. I want to make a vid. People like to see all this, internal workings of this crap. Oh. So those are your Jake boxes. What is this? A 240, a 340A, right?
yeah.
Jake. So we had. Easy on the bolts. Oh, the bolts.
Don't lose the bolts.
Don't lose the bolts.
Especially
I got
down
my
in there.
arm on the bolts. That's good. So anyway, here are your these are your injectors down here. These are your actual injectors, and then this is a solenoid. And when you turn your brake switch on, it activates this. And what this thing does, I assume, is reroute or capture engine oil pressure. 40, 60, 80 pounds of it, and then it's got little pinholes, and it runs it over into these housings, and there's little pistons like slave cylinders in here, and it dams the oil up in them, and then they push down on the.
I think they run a little piston out there.
Yes, and it pushes on the exhaust valve on the rocker and holds the exhaust valve open. Basically turns the engine in. It decompressions the engine, and basically turns it into a air compressor instead of an engine. But that's how your Jakes work, basically. So does it hold the exhaust open? I think it holds it open or closed. I just read the theory on it, but whatever. I'm sure somebody will correct me. Whatever. That's what creates your.
It holds the exhaust open. Because then when your compression comes up, it goes out the exhaust.
Right. So instead of making power, it makes like a back drag or whatever. But those are what's called your Jake boxes. So now what we got to do is turn the engine. Caterpillar makes an engine turning tool, but I don't think we got one unless it's in the hole backwards or something on. They used to do that on some of the older engines, but I don't know. If not, we're going to have to get a turning tool or just try and turn it with a wrench. But what you do is you turn your engine over, find out what cylinder this and this one is. Turn your engine over top dead center, and then you can valve your valve lash, your intake valve lash, and your exhaust lash.
Gimme.
So is that where that washer that I found come from?
I think so.
Did I bring it over here?
I think it came off of this one actually.
Yeah. Wanna go grab that, Tay?
Little washer thing?
Yeah, it's back here where we had
Should
that.
be
Jake
4
apart.
bolts. I only have. Whoop, this one don't have.
So they make a special tool, a little special clamp to clamp these, because these have got like a. I'll show you back here where I took this all apart. But
Wonder where this one went.
what do you want? A bolt?
Another washer.
I don't know. Oh, look. Boy, you might get out of here without breaking my stupid freaking neck. Oh, wow. See what I can find. So anyway, it's been miserable, rainy. I shut my job down. Taylor, you guys went down here, right? How bad was it?
Oh, it's pretty wet.
Yeah. Well, that's a strip job. So. Did you find that washer? He's missing another one. Here's another one. The spar. Okay, so this this Jake assembly here. This Jake assembly here is a B. Okay, I think that's what this one says. See if it'll focus. I can't see crap without my glasses on. So this is it's actually off another Cat engine, an E model Cat. Well, it's probably a little older. or newer. I don't know. This is a B model, 12 volt, 340B Jake box here. So what we did, I got a junk engine out back. So what we did is just to save running after parts, we just went to see if we could scavenge some parts. Lo and behold, the internal parts are the same. So how this works, this is an oil cup. See, this is basically a little piston. It's like a slave's piston. Now, I don't know if you can see it. There's a little tiny pinhole in the bottom of that. Yep, that's an oil galley. So what this thing does, just roughly, and I'm sure somebody who really knows their stuff can correct me, but just roughly, what this thing does, here's your solenoid, electric solenoid. So when your Jake is activated electrically by your positive and negative leads on your Jake solenoid, okay, it plunges this solenoid valve. I'm assuming it shuts it off and doesn't let the oil just go back to galley, back to tank, which in this case would just be back, back down to the oil sump. What it does, see, here's what it does here. I think it dumps it out here when it goes back to the bottom of the crank, right? But when it needs oil to activate your Jakes, that little valve shuts, and the oil pressure, there must be a galley in here somewhere, and it shoots through that little jet hole and into the back of the piston, which has a little tiny pinhole, and it fills this cup. It makes the cup expand and push this way, very similar to a brake cylinder, okay? Then it has these springs in it. See, this little doodad, which is just your basically it's a push rod, and it has a little tappet on it, right? So it's like self-aligning. That is in there. And these springs. Yeah, I'm not sure how that piston, I would think it would be that, but I'm not sure. Okay, so then what it's got, we used the good retainer. This was the broken one. So anyway, as I turn this, you can see it moves the cup. So that's how you're going to adjust your lash, right? And then your springs return it back, take the slack out of it. That's how you create your lash on it. So this now is just relegated to spare parts, basically. And that's your jam nut to lock your adjustment nut, your adjustment stem. So it's kind of interesting. I've never had one apart before, but we're hoping this is all it was. I think what happened is the little rocker assembly snapped. The adjuster on the rocker assembly snapped, and then that loaded up backloaded everything and popped the springs out. We'll see. Fire it up and see if it screws up. Hopefully we don't have to do a head job on it. So you never know with this stuff. But it started popping back through the exhaust. So I'm sorry, the intake. So we assumed that it either dropped the valve or bent rod or something. Or a rocker, which basically it ended up being, so that was good. So, you know you're missing a Torx bit out of this set? Well, there's one missing.
Oh, isn't that the one that we were just using to put that?
No, I just put that one back in here. But there's one missing. A small one. Alright. Okay. Well, hopefully this thing will work. Maybe get a bit of it. Ta-ta.